Let's try this one.
Let's see.
So in the swing, you can do, have you ever seen the ab roller moves?
Wow.
The ab roller moves, it's something you could, as seen on TV, those products where you roll out, but you can do it for free with your baby. On your knees, kneeling plank, and then your arms are working, and your abs are working.
She loves this. This is the first time she's been in a swing.
Isn't it fun? First
On live
time ever on live
television.
TV.
What do you think, Isabel? All right, finally, we'll get to the stroller.
And then when you're, go ahead, when you're on a playground with your kids, as they get a little bit older, you can use the slide. You can do little lunges on the steps, then use the slide, crawl up, because sometimes you go down the slide with your baby,
That's
or
right.
Okay.
That is the
We're
perfect
gonna
way
slide
to
on
go
into a
out
break.
of this segment. Anna, you're going to be here all week with us. Which
Yes,
will be
I can't wait.
so
Lots
much
of
fun.
mommy segments.
So many great tips. Thank you so much. All right, we will be right back after this. More Fox and Friends to come.
Girl, I never seen you in.
James Comey's memos are still the topic of conversation.
They sure
President Trump was out tweeting about this yesterday, saying they are classified. Therefore, he broke the law.
There's now a criminal referral to the U.S. Attorney in Washington for his leaking and lying.
And my guess is, I don't know this for sure, but Clapper's the one who orchestrated this. He's the one who told Comey, you go in, you talk to the president, you brief him on the dossier.
Kim Jong-un halting the country's missile testing ahead of his upcoming summit with President Trump.
President Trump having strong language and rhetoric in the beginning got us to this point.
The DNC suing Team Trump, the Russians, WikiLeaks, and more over election interference.
They ought to be suing themselves. They're the ones that colluded with the Russians.
Kanye West setting off an online firestorm when he gave a shout out to conservative activist Candace Owens.
400 years of slavery, Jim Crow, which, by the way, none of you guys lived through. Your grandparents did, and it's embarrassing that you utilize their history.
Oh, there's Ed out on the plaza.
Is dancing or is he avoiding a... I don't know. I can't tell.
Who says you can't go home? Who says you can't go home? There's only one place they call me one of their own. Just a hometown boy.
Yeah, you saw that last video. That was Ed dancing to a power washer. As sometime, and this, you can hear those heels. That's Abby now arriving at the couch, the magic of television. She was just outside doing baby workouts.
That was a workout.
Then she got a workout changing back into her professional attire.
The magic of television.
And now she's here. Boom! Just like that.
Whew, guys, I've had my workout for the morning. I'm good.
It's great hustle. Like she
I love that you guys get to eat like the donut grilled cheeses.
Yeah,
And I'm out there.
You do the mommy workout. You know, you nailed it. You really did a great job.
Nice
It's good to see Anna
Well, I'm
Kleiman
here.
too.
I know. It's great to have her back.
Although we do have a love story between Ed Henry and Hillary Clinton. We can't bring it to you right now.
It's in
That's
a
a
new
tease,
book.
as they say in the television business. Look at those cheeks. Turns out Hillary might like those cheeks too. But we're going to bring it to you in a minute. Yeah.
That's a tease.
That
That
is.
is a
Nice
great
tease.
tease. But in the meantime, it is an all-out war between
really is.
President Trump and James Comey. And those classified memos, were they classified, were they not? We keep hearing different stories from James Comey himself. Well, here is what the president tweeted yesterday. He says, James Comey's memos are classified. I did not declassify them. They belong to our government. Therefore, he broke the law. Additionally, he totally made up many of the things he said I said, and he is already a proven liar and leaker. Where are memos on Clinton, Lynch, and others?
Well, and we had Kellyanne Conway on last hour, and we asked her, where is the president on all of this? Here she is.
The president this week, too, took account of who Jim Comey really is, someone who the president said hardly knows the president. They had very limited contact. Jim Comey was on the job for about 111 days. He's been off of the job for nearly a year and is somehow some expert into President Trump's thinking. And he's trying to sell books. Everybody can appreciate that. But he's also a witness in the Mueller investigation and clearly going to be a witness in the McCabe investigation. People should be very concerned.
Well, Kellyanne mentions the McCabe investigation. Of course, the DOJ, his Inspector General, has referred him for criminal charges, Andy
it's a
McCabe.
U.S. attorney.
U.S. attorney. Now we know that the same is being done. Sorry, I dropped my pen. Same is being done for James Comey. That he is under investigation, or at least they're looking into any number of things. And he's on this book tour, and he's talking and talking and talking. But what we know is that he's a leaker. What we know is that those documents were FBI material, and we know that some of them were classified.
Yeah.
And he had a special relationship through a professor to someone who was leaking this information to the New York Times. That, to me, spells uh-oh, and you can't really talk your way out of something that you shouldn't have been doing.
But Ed, he has said that he did not have these memos. None of them were classified. He wanted to release them to the public. He also wanted to ultimately lead to that special counsel that we now have with Robert Mueller. So there's so much confusion here where you're hearing one thing from James Comey, and now he's under investigation. These memos are on were they classified or were they
number
not?
one, the Comey memos were supposed to set the stage for the special counsel that there were allegations of obstruction of justice. Now we see the memos, and you scratch your head and say, this led to the special counsel? It seems bizarre. And number two, you're right. James Comey told Congress under oath last year, I tried to keep classified information out of these memos because I didn't want it in there. Now we see the memos and there's redactions. It's blacked out.
And
There was classified.
he self-classified it as one of them at the time as secret. Even redacted something that he sent to his law professor. So
also the bigger question too, I think the president addressed this in his tweet. Why are there only memos on President Trump? Why do you only write your personal diary, as I call them, on him? What about Loretta Lynch? What about Hillary Clinton? He had question marks about them at a certain point in time. Why didn't he come back and take his own notes for them?
And what about the special nature in which the Hillary Clinton investigation was conducted versus how it's being conducted around this president?
Well, still a lot of questions remain, and we will see where those investigations go. But probably the biggest news story of the weekend is North Korea.
Of course.
And they have frozen their nuclear program.
No more testing.
No more testing. President Trump still stands strong on the two of them meeting together at an upcoming summit. We don't have a date of that yet, but says it's still going to happen. But people are saying, tread lightly on this. Be careful. Don't fully trust North Korea. We had Michael Malice on, who's the author of Dear Reader. He says something just doesn't add up when it comes to North Korea. Here's what he told us.
It takes a lot to go from we're going to kill you in November and in April, we're just going to give you everything we want and ask for nothing in return. Everyone's cheering and applauding as if we've won and North Korea is going to liberalize and give up their nukes and close down the concentration camps. Let's celebrate when these things actually happen as opposed to simply a pause on the nuclear program. We don't know what's going to happen because we also don't know how President Trump is going to approach him. And President Trump is playing his cards close to his chest, which is very intelligent when you're dealing with someone like this.
Well, so he wrote the book on it, certainly understands a lot about the nature of that regime. Well, the president is up this morning tweeting just minutes ago on this very topic. First tweet saying, one of my favorite nicknames, Sleepy Eyes Chuck Todd of Fake News NBC just stated that we have given up so much in our negotiations with North Korea, and they have given up nothing. Wow, we haven't given up anything, and they have agreed to denuclearization, so great for the world, site closure, and no more testing, exclamation point. And in a second tweet, he said, we're a long way from a conclusion on North Korea. Maybe things will work out, and maybe they won't. Only time will tell. But the work I am doing now should have been done a long time ago.
Well, I didn't see exactly what Chuck Todd said, but if in fact he suggested that we're giving away the store and North Korea is not giving anything, that doesn't sound true. North Korea is freezing the nuclear testing, as Abby pointed out. And on top of that, there are also reports that when Mike Pompeo, the CIA director, Secretary of State designate, went and met with Kim Jong-un secretly over Easter weekend, that Kim Jong-un put on the table the idea that in these talks, they're willing to give up these 3 American hostages. It sounds an awful lot like North Korea is giving up something, a lot.
Some said
they haven't
almost
done it
too
yet,
much
but
preemptively.
What have we given up? I'm confused by
And also,
the criticism.
what is the alternative? Right? What do the American people want? Do we want to go to war with North Korea? I don't think anyone is pushing for that. Ultimately, diplomacy is always the best solution.
We want a world without a nuclear North Korea. And if it can be done through diplomacy, fantastic. That's preferred. If it has to come to war to do it, you might have to do that. But the point is they have to believe that you'll go to war, which is exactly what President Trump has said. Fire and fury meant we will bring you down if you don't come to the table. Now they're at the table. The only thing I would take issue with in the tweet is that they've agreed to denuclearize. They haven't necessarily done that yet. They've said, we'll look at the state of our nuclear testing, but they're going to cling tightly to that because Kim Jong-un knows that the only way he keeps his regime is with his nukes right now. So to get him to give them up means you have to give him other assurances. All complicated stuff. So North Korea is meeting with South Korea next month, and then in June, we're hearing that's when the president.
And don't forget the importance of China in all of this, by the way. The president, I don't think, got enough credit when he pushed China months ago, and they stopped oil and gas from going into North Korea, which was terrible for the North Koreans. So anyway, keep a close eye on this. We don't know where it all ends, but we will follow it very closely. All right, to some other headlines that we are also following this morning. A serious one in a Fox News alert, a possible sighting in the hunt for the gunman who killed 4 people in a Waffle House shooting rampage. Nashville police confirming reports that a man believed to be this man, 29-year-old, as the person of interest. Travis Reinking was spotted in the woods at an apartment complex near that scene. The rampage starting around 3:30 this morning when the gunman stormed the restaurant with a rifle, shooting several people. He was then tackled by a brave tape customer before fleeing that scene. And to another Fox News alert now, ISIS claiming responsibility for a suicide bomb attack in Afghanistan that left 48 people dead, more than 100 hurt. The bomber targeting a voter registration center in the Afghan capital. The large blast shattering windows across the city and damaging several cars. This is the fourth attack since voter registration started last Saturday. Also this morning, Starbucks is in hot water again, and this time after a hidden camera was found inside of a bathroom at a store near Atlanta. A 25-year-old customer reportedly found it taped underneath a baby changing station. Well, police say 8 to 10 people were captured on the nearly hour-long tape. This coming just 10 days after Starbucks was slammed over the arrest of 2 black men inside a Philadelphia store for allegedly trespassing. And some sports now. The 2018 MLB season has its first no-hitter. The Oakland A's, Sean Manaea, blanking the Boston Red Sox.
2-0 pitch. Grounded to short. Scooped up by Simeon. It's a no-hitter. It's a no-hitter.
The A's would go on to win 3-0. The Red Sox have baseball's hottest team off to a 17-2 start before the loss.
Yeah, you didn't just beat the Scrubs. You beat one of the hottest teams in baseball.
Yeah, amazing.
Hottest team in baseball.
The best team in baseball, Ed?
No, the Yankees are, but they're not. Their record doesn't reflect it yet.
But Ed, you've got a bestie, and her name, it appears, is Hillary Clinton.
You love this.
A new Hillary Clinton book reveals a bombshell nugget that HRC Hillary Clinton has a crush on Ed Henry, his cheeks and his pocket square.
I keep getting emails about this because Amy Chosick wrote this book.
All right, so here's the quote from the book, and I will read it to you. It says, despite aggressively questioning Clinton about her emails, Ed Henry became a favorite. She would regularly look past her almost entirely female press corps to call on the Fox News correspondent with his cherub cheeks and poochy pocket squares.
Let's get a close-up of those cherub cheeks.
I don't know what
I think you're blushing, Ed.
I am blushing.
He's blushing.
Because, and this is not Poochie. This is, I think, Brooks Brothers.
But you have a Poochie?
I do have one.
I don't know what a Poochie is.
But here's the thing. I think Hillary Clinton actually liked the sparring. She liked the idea of, I'm taking on the Fox guy. I don't think she liked me. And in our private conversations, she was always sort of needling me when we were talking off the record.
But those
she was never like, hey.
But the cherub cheeks. I mean, that.
You can't deny it, Ed.
There.
Yeah, well, you know what? We were teasing Todd yesterday about his fan club because we had these 6 people in Naples, Florida, holding up his headshots that he had sent out there.
Pyromania.
And it was now Todd Pyro, Pyromania. And so some of my friends down in Florida said, you know what? We're going to print out your headshots. So these are the Pyromaniacs. 6 strong.
That's in Jupiter, Florida.
They look like maniacs to
About
me.
20 miles away in 20 miles from Jupiter in Lake Worth, Florida. My friend Lee owns a restaurant called Benny's on the Beach, and he printed out a bunch of headshots. I didn't have anything to do with sending them, and people were holding them out. There were more than 6, but probably not that many more.
I didn't have anything to do with that stunning photo of myself that happened to make
Ed, where is the humility?
I don't have any humility. Look at all these people. They are Ed Mania. It's not just Hillary Clinton. Apparently, there's people all over Florida.
What do they like about you, Ed?
How much did you pay them? How much did you pay them for that?
I'm writing a check right after the show.
Exactly. Well done.
Fan club, lowest bidder. No, we love you, Ed.
Thanks for teasing me.
And your cherub cheeks.
Yes.
And your, give me that Poochie. I got it now. All right, coming up, rapper Kanye West starting a firestorm after telling the world he loves the way Candace Owens thinks. What does he love? Her showdown or shutdown of Black Lives Matter was part of it. Watch.
I don't know why people like being oppressed. 400 years of slavery, Jim Crow, which, by the way, none of you guys lived through. Your grandparents did, and it's embarrassing that you utilize their history.
Candace Owens, she is here live along with Texas Congressman John Radcliffe, Maria Bartiromo, and Ken Starr, all on a big final hour on this Sunday edition.
There's not a thing that I would change, 'cause you're amazing.
Well, the Justice Department watchdog now taking a closer look at James Comey for potentially leaking classified information. And our next guest says what we learned from this could change the entire Mueller probe.
Here to explain, House Judiciary Committee member, former U.S. Attorney, Texas Congressman John Radcliffe. Good morning.
Good morning, guys.
So where do we stand now that James Comey is kind of part of the way through this big book tour?
Well, I think for whatever purpose that Jim Comey wrote those memos, they're largely proving to be exculpatory of any claims against Donald Trump relating to obstruction or collusion. In particular, if you look at the March 30, 2017 memo, the FBI director records that Donald Trump asked him to investigate fully whether any Trump campaign associate was colluding with the Russians. That's the opposite of obstructing the investigation. That's the opposite of trying to end it. In fact, if you look at all 15 pages of Jim Comey's memo, the word obstruction never appears once. The first time we heard that word was in retaliation after Jim Comey was fired.
So, Congressman, but
I think that'll have a significant. I think they'll have a significant legal impact on the special counsel's investigation.
So the legal impact is different than the public perception because he's seen these memos. Bob Mueller we haven't. So we now have a chance to catch up to his thinking. Has this already been baked into his investigation? I mean, have they, and will it accelerate it as you suggest?
Well, remember that Jim Comey has to, Bob Mueller has to prove any criminal charges to the criminal standard of beyond a reasonable doubt. And if you're trying to prove that Donald Trump committed obstruction or collusion, the admission by the FBI director that he was ordered to fully investigate in and of itself creates reasonable doubt.
Sure.
Yeah, I also wanted to ask you, the president's tweeting that there was classified information in these memos. So should James Comey be prosecuted?
Well, look, we know that Jim Comey created those memos as the FBI director. He used an FBI computer to do them, and he shared them with FBI employees. We also know that he shared them with an unauthorized person, a law professor. Jim Comey himself recorded that the first memo was secret. So the only issue is how much of the information is classified and how much of that classified information did he share with an unauthorized person. That's what the Inspector General is looking at to see whether or not Jim Comey violated the Espionage Act. The irony here, guys, is that proving that anyone violated the Espionage Act with regard to the handling of classified information has been made more difficult under the Jim Comey standard or the Jim Comey precedent set in the Hillary Clinton email investigation.
That's true.
Remember, he said that he added a criminal element of having to harm national security. It wasn't enough to be extremely careless. It wasn't enough to be grossly negligent. You could take America's most sensitive national security information and, in a grossly negligent manner, leave it in a Starbucks outside the Kremlin, and you can't be charged under the Espionage Act unless you had intent to harm national security.
It's an important point I had forgotten about as well. John Radcliffe, thank you for joining us this morning. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
All right, well, still ahead, rapper Kanye West starting a social media firestorm after telling the world he loves the way Candace Owens thinks. This is what he was talking about. Watch.
I don't know why people like being oppressed. 400 years of slavery, Jim Crow, which, by the way, none of you guys lived through. Your grandparents did, and it's embarrassing that you utilize their history.
She is joining us on the couch live. There she is, coming up next. Quick headlines for you. Well, President Trump will host French President Emmanuel Macron for his first state dinner this week. Except this year, there won't be any seats at the table for Democrats or Ed's colleagues in the media. Politico reporting a guest list of about 150 people expected to attend Tuesday's night's event, which will be held in the state dining room. And the second story, for the second year in a row, President Trump will skip the annual Correspondents' Dinner. Instead, he will hold a re-election campaign rally in Michigan. The president expected to discuss economic policies, including tax reform. Last year, you'll remember, the president missed the dinner to hold a rally in Pennsylvania. Seemed to work last time, doing it again. All right, well, rap superstar Kanye West setting off a social media firestorm after he praised conservative activist Candace Owens. In a tweet, West told his followers that he, quote, loves the way Candace Owens thinks.
Well, just hours before that, Candace took on Black Lives Matter protesters at an event at UCLA. Watch this.
What is happening right now in the black community, you're going to hear it in this room first. There's an ideological civil war happening. Black people that are focused on their past and shouting about slavery, and black people that are focused on their futures, okay? I can guarantee you what you're seeing happening is victim mentality versus victor mentality. Victim mentality is not cool. I don't know why people like being oppressed. It's the weirdest thing I've ever heard. I love oppression. We're oppressed. 400 years of slavery, Jim Crow, which, by the way, none of you guys lived through. Your grandparents did, and it's embarrassing that you utilize their history. You're not living through anything right now. You're overly privileged Americans.
Well, here she is, very powerful. From Turning Point USA, Candace Owens. Good morning.
Good morning.
Can't
Thank you for
imagine
having
what
me.
the last 24 hours or so has been like.
Yeah.
Candace, I didn't realize you've been called every name in the book after that Kanye West tweet.
Yeah, in about 10 seconds, I became a KKK member, anti-LGBT, I mean, you name it, just because I think differently and I refuse to accept this narrative that I'm a victim. I'm not a victim.
Oh, of course. So first, take us to the event at UCLA. You were there with Turning Point to talk to students. Some Black Lives Matter folks came in and tried to shout you down. And rather than, I mean, you took them on.
Correct. We told them that they were welcome to get in line and ask any questions, but they refused to do that. They wanted to just heckle. We were there to talk about capitalism and free markets, not really that controversial. And they were up and they were screaming, "F the police," as we had police sitting in the back. So I took them on because I believe that their ideas are poisonous. I also believe that they're intellectually dishonest or intellectually lazy, depending on what you want to take a pick at. Because the truth is, the numbers are in, okay? Police brutality is not an issue that is facing the Black community whatsoever.
All right, well, here are just an example of some of the tweets you have received since that event took place. This one says, aside from being an insane alt-right race pimp, Candace Owens thinks Donald Trump is literally the messiah, not you, Kanye West, so you might want to consider. They're mad that Kanye called you out on Twitter saying that he likes the way that you think. That's all he said, by the way. That was the only thing that was written in the tweet. I like the way Candace Owens thinks. What does that say, bigger picture, about society today? That you can go out there and you can say things that they might disagree with, and this is the backlash, this is the reaction.
Well, I think it's pretty typical of the left. The truth is that the left wants to strap Black people to this idea that they are victims. That's what it comes down to. They do not want Black people focused on their futures. They want Black people focused on their past. They like Black people to be government dependent. They don't like to see Black people that are free thinkers and are independent. And I think that's what Kanye West and myself represent to the Black community, and that makes them very nervous.
And so Democrats might be nervous about this kind of talk. You were a Democrat. Tell us what you mean when you say, don't be a victim, be a victor.
There is no value in being a victim. There is no value in being oppressed. There is only value in looking forward toward the future. And that is what I preach and what I practice every single day and what I'm trying to wake up the Black community to understand. For too long, we have been used by pawns, and Black Lives Matter is an example of that. They are pawns to the Democratic Party that go out and ruin their lives for something that they don't even understand and which is fundamentally false.
Well, you were attacked, but so was Kanye West. This is Bakari Sellers from CNN chiming in, saying, "Bruh, this is so disturbing. This says more about you than her. For those that don't know Candace Owens, she thinks Donald Trump is a savior. So you're apparently a race pimp who thinks Donald Trump is a savior and evil for this country."
Yeah, exactly. No, I've said publicly that I believe that Donald Trump saved the West. They are now trying to make that a biblical, trying to misconstrue that into something biblical. So yeah, it's nastiness, but and look, it's CNN. I don't think anybody really takes them seriously anymore.
Has Kanye West kept that tweet up? Because he has received so many attacks, so much backlash. Is it still sitting there?
It's still sitting there, and I'm not surprised. Kanye West is not really one to fold to controversy.
Well, he said in a tweet after yours, I support free thinkers. And I think that's his idea here. You spoke freely, something that maybe wasn't supposed to be said in that community for a long time. And that's dangerous to people.
Correct. I mean, if you look at things historically, Kanye West has really represented the battering ram against political correctness. Long before Donald Trump came down the escalator, Kanye West was public enemy number one for simply trying to tell the truth to people about things that were going on. So I'm unsurprised that, he supports me and my ideas and me just thinking freely.
In terms of where you take this forward, what would you like to say to Kanye West?
I would just like to thank him. It was a moment that I will never forget. I was extremely emotional, and it was an affirmation that I needed to go forward. So just thank you, Kanye West.
Yeah. You shouldn't be bullied and threatened for having different views. Candace, great to have you on the show this morning.
Good stuff.
Thank you
so much for having me.
All right. Well, President Trump suggests the appointment of special counsel Mueller was illegal. What does the law say? We're going to ask Ken Starr, the independent counsel who investigated Bill Clinton. Can't wait to hear what he says.
And Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin may soon be heading to China. Maria Bartiromo says it's a good sign for the future, and she's coming up next.
take this, haters. That don't kill me. Nothing in the world it feels like coming home.
Well, you know, here's home. It's not home until Maria Bartiromo is here on a Sunday morning. Sunday Morning Futures host. She'll be on this channel in 26 minutes.
Yes,
exactly.
looking forward to it.
Morning, Maria.
Hey guys, how are you?
We're doing great. It's great to have you. So you're talking a little bit of China this morning, or at least we hear that Steve Mnuchin will be heading to China amid all the trade back and forth. What's the goal on what the administration is doing toward China?
Well, I think the goal would be, you know, just to meet with his counterparts in China to try to come to a middle place in terms of coming halfway, China, so that it stops its companies from stealing intellectual property from American companies, stop making it so difficult for American companies to get a foothold in China. As you know, right now, if you want to sell to the 1.3 billion people population in China, you have to get a joint venture together with a Chinese company, and you cannot own more than 49% of that. So there's really no freedom for American companies or foreigners in China.
And it's super easy for Chinese companies to come here.
That's
so
right.
The playing field is
that an example then? I mean, you think about President Trump and his tough talk and how he's been so often criticized for that Trump talk, that it's only going to lead to a trade war, it's going to lead to war with North Korea, et cetera, et cetera. Is this an example of maybe when that tough talk can lead to something promising?
Yeah, it really is, Abby. I mean, look, I'm very comfortable with the president, with what he has done with regard to China, because everybody gets this. Everybody knows China has been stealing our intellectual property for decades.
Yeah.
And everybody knows that China makes it incredibly difficult for a foreign company to get a foothold in China. They have 10 industries that are deemed off limits. You cannot even, defense, food, shipping. There are industries that the Chinese government will not allow foreigners to have any foothold in. And so we know that, but China has a completely different situation when it comes here. So I think what the president has done is very smart. And, you know, if it means cutting into that $375 billion surplus that China has, why not? He's trying to get that down by $100 billion.
So it's been the week of Comey, where he was supposed to try to hurt the president's credibility. It seems like maybe Comey's credibility on the line as well. You've got Devin Nunes. I bet he has a lot to say about it.
He really does, Ed. And, you know, I think it's been a really bad week for Jim Comey this past week and his book tour, as, of course, we know that there are major congressional investigations going on looking at his governing and his FBI and the massive abuse of power that took place at the top of the FBI. Devin Nunes is investigating how this whole Trump investigation with collusion with Russia began. And what he has found after looking at the electronic communications is that there was no intelligence used. Let me say that again. There was no verified intelligence used to launch an investigation into collusion between Trump and Russia. That's extraordinary. And that's what I'm going to talk about with the chairman of the Intel Committee next, Devin Nunes. That's a big statement.
It is a big story. I look forward to that.
No intelligence, Abby?
Unbelievable.
Or verified intelligence?
Exactly.
I thought that's what they were in the business
We
of.
have verified channels where we go with other countries, by the way. None of that.
Yeah.
Interesting. All right, we'll be watching.
Thank
Good
you.
stuff.
Thanks, Maria. All right, turning now to some other headlines we are following closely this morning. Nancy Pelosi's top lieutenant wants her and the rest of the Democratic leadership gone if they don't retake the House this November. Assistant Minority Leader Jim Clyburn tells Politico, if we are still in the minority, all of us have got to go. The 77-year-old saying the Democrats need a reassessment of the party after Election Day, regardless of the outcome. Some strong words there. And the economy may be taking off under the Trump administration, but the Army says it's putting a damper on recruitment efforts. Recruiters say they are struggling to meet this year's goal, 80,000 additional active duty soldiers, forcing them to officially lower that number by 500. So far, the Army says it's brought in just 28,000 soldiers. Also this, a milestone most of us would never want to match. A Colorado man can now officially claim that he has survived a shark, a bear, and a snake attack, all in less than 4 years. The 20-year-old man suffering deep cuts to one of his legs in a shark attack off the coast of Hawaii last week. But he did live to tell his tale about that, about his run-in with a 300-pound bear in Colorado last July and his rattlesnake bite from a 2015 visit to Utah.
Wow.
Just stay inside, bro.
Goodness, he is still around to tell it. It's amazing. Well, tributes are pouring in this morning to Vern Troyer, the actor best known for playing Mini-Me in the Austin Powers movies. We all know him.
I shall call him Mini-Me.
Troyer's team remembering the star as extremely caring and an inspiration to others. Mike Myers calling his Austin Powers co-star a consummate professional and beacon of positivity, saying that he will be greatly missed. And actor Dean Cain sharing this picture with Troyer on Twitter. Troyer was 49 years old. Still, no cause of death was given.
You know, they asked that guy about the rattlesnake and the bear and the bite and how it feels after all that getting beaten up. He said it's a little bit like Pete going up against Ed.
That's exactly what he said. Although I was in the ocean 2 days ago, and a sea turtle came at me. He came up out of the
Are you okay?
No, in my mind, he was coming to bite my face.
Oh, man.
Which would have been fine.
Peter was a sea turtle.
I know, but it was a sea turtle. So it wasn't actually like a violent
I was just
turtle.
going to say, don't share that on national TV. But you just
did. In my mind, it was like a roaring dinosaur.
Well, you know, someone we're never afraid of is our own Rick Reichmuth. Although you haven't given us great weather recently, Rick.
We saw you with the animals a couple weeks ago, though.
You know I'm not an animal guy. I'm really
I
not.
know,
Rick.
you are not. You're afraid of all of them.
I'm not afraid of all of them. They're just unpredictable.
Is there one that you do like?
Cats.
Cats, okay. All right, there you go. Nice. That's very tough of you. Take a look at the weather maps, guys. Show you what's going on. I tell you what, you're absolutely right. There has not been much summer or spring for a lot of people, at least across the northern tier of the country. Southeast, you've seen plenty of it. Here's your temps as you are waking up this morning. Down across the southeast, unfortunately, another rainy weekend for you. Here you go. Here's a look at the satellite radar picture. Florida, you're starting out okay, but there's a storm that brought a very heavy rain yesterday across parts of Oklahoma into Arkansas, and it's very slowly. It's a really slow-moving system, so the rainfall totals are going to be pretty extreme. That means flooding is going to be a concern. And this is a future radar. This is how the storm plays out for the day. You see it moves very slowly. That means if you're getting rain, good chance you're going to have it for the better part of the rest of the day. Tomorrow just pulls off across the Carolinas by Tuesday evening and across parts of the Northeast. Rainfall totals are going to be pretty extreme. That's why we're going to see that flooding. A lot of flood watches in effect. Those areas of red that you see there are talking about maybe 3 to 5 inches. Temperature-wise, start to get a little bit better. Take a look at this. A little bit cooler out across the west. Again, Denver on Tuesday, 46. But take a look at this, guys. We have temperatures back into the 50s and 60s. So we'll take that, guy. How's that, 50s, 60s?
I'll take it.
Still no
All right.
70s, 80s, but it's getting better slowly. The sun just came out. Feeling better? Yes.
Ed, you're firing up the crowd out there, Ed.
Yeah.
Tell them to calm down, okay?
Come on.
All
right, thanks, Rick. Appreciate it. All right, President Trump suggesting in a tweet that the appointment of Special Counsel Mueller was illegal. Is he right? We're going to ask Ken Starr, the independent counsel who investigated Bill Clinton, next.
And it is time for spring cleaning. Skip Adele is showing us the gadgets and the gear to help get that job done. That is just ahead.
She's cleaning the building.
Are there sea turtles out there?
Hope not.
Look out. Scared to cat.
Back it on up. Building with mold armor. Fill your cup up.
Some quick headlines for you, starting with video that will shock you, or should at least. A bus driver caught on camera paying more attention to his cell phone than the road. A concerned passenger recording this video of the driver who was watching videos while navigating New York City streets. Maybe he's just very experienced. The company says the driver was fired. And a Minnesota school bus driver is removed from his route for leading students in prayer. And James George Nathaniel, who is also a pastor, admits to praying on the bus, but says he never forced students to join. But the school says its actions aren't sitting well with parents. Nathaniel was fired from another district in 2013 for the same reason.
That is disturbing. Thank you, Pete. All right, well, President Trump questioning whether the appointment of a special counsel for the Russia investigation was legitimate.
Trump on Friday tweeting this, quote, James Comey illegally leaked classified documents to the press in order to generate a special counsel. Therefore, the special counsel was based on an illegal act. Really? Does everybody know what that means? Question mark.
Here with insight, the former independent counsel, former Solicitor General of the United States, Ken Starr, who of course investigated Bill Clinton. Good morning, Counselor.
Morning.
Hey, good morning.
Ken, I wonder, we asked Alan Dershowitz about this yesterday, and he said, while it was troubling the way all this played out, that it would be a stretch to say that this is that legal principle of the poisonous tree, and that everything gained from the special counsel now is illegitimate. What say you?
Yes. Well, I understand the president's frustration. All this information is flowing in. The information is very troubling. The Comey memos are very troubling. But I agree with Alan. I don't think this will prevail in court. By the way, one great thing that happened this week, as I see it, is that the president wisely selected Rudy Giuliani. I served in the Justice Department during the Reagan administration with Rudy. Obviously, he was a great mayor, a great United States attorney, but here's here's the point. He's a great lawyer, and he will be terrific. So if Rudy goes into court and says it's illegal, then it's going to be taken very seriously. But I think it's a hard argument to
Ken,
make.
real quick though, before we move on to other subjects, have you had any conversations with the president or any of his representatives about joining his legal team?
No, the president's very wise, very astute, and so I'm sure he has a 10-foot pole. But no, I've not. I've not been asked. No.
Ken, where do you see this going? What is the long game here? Does the Russia probe, do you see that coming to an end in the near future? And then Michael Cohen, that investigation's going on. Is that something the president should be more concerned about? Just help lay this out for our audience and what the long game ultimately will be.
I think that the investigation has obviously focused on Paul Manafort and those issues involving the Ukraine and registration and all that. It's focused on lying to the FBI. We now know, please don't lie to the FBI in these interviews. I think the key thing that we have seen thus far is the indictment against the 13 Russian individuals and the 3 Russian companies. And the key that I read in that very detailed indictment, not one word suggested, didn't even hint at collusion or a conspiracy. So, and I think the president should also feel good that very recently he was told by Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein, and by the way, I know Rod Rosenstein. He was on the Whitewater trial team a long time ago. He's a person of integrity. I know the president has issues, but the president should rest assured that Rod Rosenstein is calling them the way he sees them. He's not political. He happens to be a Republican, but he has nothing against this president. He's just trying to make these very, very tough judgments. So let's see what happens. Let's see what happens in this in the disposition of this indictment, which I think by far, and I'm talking about the Russian individuals, well-funded, and 3 organizations. I think indirectly it was an indictment of Vladimir Putin.
Ken, from what we now know publicly from the James Comey memos, is he in jeopardy of a criminal referral or his own legal troubles here?
Well, I think there's very serious questions. It is simply not permissible to leak information. If you have information of concern, you go to the appropriate individual. That's the Office of Professional Responsibility. It was not just irregular, it just raises very serious legal questions. We do know that the Inspector General in the Justice Department knows how to call them the way he sees them with the criminal referral of Andrew McCabe, and the OPR, the Office of Professional Responsibility investigation before that, said there are really serious questions here of his truthfulness, again, to FBI agents. So I think we've got really honest people occupying these offices that are really unseen by the general public, but should give people a lot of confidence that there is integrity in government.
I pray you are right, sir.
We'll leave it there. Ken Starr, great to have you on this morning.
Right.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Up next, you may be ready for the warm weather. What about the house? Skip Adele is showing us the gadgets and gear to help get that spring cleaning all spiffy.
Welcome back. Well, finally, the weather is warming up.
That's right, which means it's time to tackle those spring cleaning projects you've been leaving behind.
And the guy who knows to do it is the host of Catch a Contractor, Skip Adele. Good morning.
I'm back. Hey, everybody. How we doing?
Welcome.
So we're spring cleaning. We're talking about stuff that gets the job done easy because nobody wants to spend a lot of time cleaning, right? So great products that get the job done. Earlier, we started out with pressure washers, but not everybody has one of those. So if you're cleaning your house, Mold Armor Easy House Wash is amazing. This stuff, all you need to do is hook it up to a good quality hose like this Max Life from Goodyear. You simply spray it on your house. It'll go up 2 stories, so it'll allow you to clean all the way up to the top of the house without getting on the ladder. You leave it on for 10 minutes, it eats away at the mold and mildew. It's EPA registered to kill mold and mildew, so it cleans the whole house. You wash it off, and all those black stains that are hard to get off are gone. This stuff is amazing. Also have deck wash. It's the same thing. So that cleans your deck. You have like black stains on your deck. It's really great stuff. So coming into the garage, we're cleaning out the garage. We're sweeping out a little debris in there. Quickie makes a great product. So this is the job site Super Duty multi-surface broom. Check out this broom. It's a fiberglass shaft. You would think like brooms, right?
Rick, you're a great broom model.
But I got to tell you, the fiberglass shaft with these coarse bristles and the padding on it makes the job really, really easy. So anything that makes the job easier, right?
It don't go this way, Abby.
Don't push it, Abby.
Abby's going like
Abby's
this.
literally never
You have a
swept
lot of
before.
broom experience.
My parents would be so mad at me right now.
That was the most telling news we've ever seen on Fox and Friends.
She's snow shoveling.
That's right, I'm from Utah.
It's not a snow shovel.
Being from Utah is not an excuse.
All right, I got to tell you about this stuff because I drove my convertible in here all the way just to talk about these towels. This is Quickies Job Site Heavy Duty Microfiber. These things are great because they're washable, so they clean up everything from grease, heavy stains. They're microfibers, so you can use it to wash your car, you can use it to dry the car, and even wax the car. And so they're great for the environment because rather than using rolls of paper towels, you throw them in the wash machine, they're washable, you can reuse them.
And then when you're done, you can use them as a pocket square.
Yeah, it looks great. They're kind of light color for spring, right? It's really great stuff.
Only the best.
So Zep cleaning products, also my favorite. I love Zep. This stuff, the Fast 505, you can use it on everything. Your patio furniture, you can use it to degrease on the car. Unbelievable. It's commercial quality cleaners that you use around the house. And lastly, the foaming glass cleaner. This stuff is amazing. You spray it on, it stays in place. It doesn't run, doesn't drip. It allows you to clean the windows really quickly.
Wow.
So does Abby have a future?
Can I try?
Try this again, Abby. Just.
I'm going to redeem myself.
Watch. Look, all you got to do is go like this, spin it, and just, there you go. You got it.
I didn't even know that's a real technique.
It's great, right?
Lessons with Abby.
Who knew you could have so much fun with a broom?
SkipFidel.com, right?
SkipFidel.com.
Thank you.
Hey, thanks, guys.
It's a broom coat.
I think that actually looks really good right there.
You like so?
You should,
You like
yeah.
it?